I want you to, for a minute, imagine something with me. Just close your eyes and imagine you're walking downtown Greenville. And as you look around, you see men and women carrying firearms openly, AK-47 across their shoulder, uh, Colt 1911 on their hip. Someone's got a shotgun on a sling. And they're just walking around downtown Greenville shopping, and they're going into bars. It's just like there's nothing unusual about that. Well, that's not a dream. It's not an image from the old Wild West or an apocalyptic future of Greenville. It is something. It is a reality that could happen in the next year or two if the legislation that's currently before the State House, if all of them were approved. Let's go through them. I know you're like, yeah, right, there's no one going to be able to walk down Greenville's Main Street with an AK-47. But let's look at the legislation that is currently in Columbia. First, just coming out of the House, passing the House, there's legislation that's now before the Senate that would make it legal for concealed weapon permit holders to carry their firearms into a restaurant that serves alcohol and a bar. Any bar. They could take their firearm in there. Now, they can't drink. If a CWP holder goes to a restaurant or a bar and he were to drink, under this law, he would lose his CWP license. He would be serving up to 2 years in jail and up to $2,000 in fine. But the law, if it passes the Senate and the governor signs it, would mean that anybody who has a concealed weapon permit could carry their firearm into a bar or a restaurant that serves alcohol. Now, for me, I understand the reason behind this. As a CWP holder, I could carry my firearm into McDonald's, but not Devereaux's, because McDonald's doesn't serve alcohol and Devereaux's does. And it doesn't seem fair because I don't drink. So why should I not be able to do that? And I would say, hey, that's fine. Let the law say you can go into a restaurant that serves alcohol. In other words, an establishment that gets the majority of their money, their revenues, from something other than alcohol, it would be legal to carry it in there. But since alcohol and responsible gun ownership don't mix, it should never be allowed to carry it into a bar. Again, not everyone who goes into a bar is going to drink. I've been in a bar before without drinking. I don't drink. But the majority of people who go to a bar are going for the purpose to consume alcohol. And it doesn't take much alcohol to impair one's judgment and one's ability to act properly. But that's the first piece, carrying the gun into a bar or restaurant. Now, there's a bill in committee right now, it looks like it'll pass, that would strike the concealed weapon part from the law about concealed weapon, and we would become an open carry state, which would mean that you could carry openly or concealed. Wouldn't make a difference. And there would be no permit, no license, because the government doesn't have a right. And there's nothing in the legislation that would require any kind of training or education, firearm safety, nothing. You're an adult. If you can buy a firearm, you are then legally allowed to carry it openly wherever you want. Combine that with the first law, that would mean you could openly carry your firearm into a bar, openly, standing on the side of your hip. Now, I understand the sentiment behind the folks talking about open carry. Nothing in the Second Amendment says you have the right to keep and bear arms as long as you get a permit from the government and you carry it concealed. I get that. I understand that. But with all our rights come responsibilities. And the concept that there's going to be no training, no education in a society that doesn't prepare their young people for the use of a firearm is ludicrous. This is not about taking away someone's rights. This is about responsible gun ownership. Because in the 1800s, the whole family was taught firearm safety. They were taught how to use a firearm. It was a natural thing. That's not the case today. There are many, many, many people out there who have no idea how to responsibly use a firearm, and that should be a requirement. I personally am not in favor of open carry because I would prefer concealed, because I'm not trying to escalate a problem. I'm not trying to make a problem. And often the appearance of a firearm in a heated discussion that's not violent can escalate it. So, first one, you can go into a bar or restaurant with your gun. Secondly, you can do it openly. Third bill that's before the legislature right now is in response to the federal gun laws. We're not going to let the feds get us. So the law would state that if a firearm or firearm part, magazine, ammunition, is manufactured in the state of South Carolina, and it is sold in the state of South Carolina, and it is used in the state of South Carolina, it would be exempt from federal gun regulations. Now, I understand that because we're not talking, they're saying you're not having interstate commerce. If they're selling the guns out of state, that's interstate commerce. If the company that is selling the guns in South Carolina or making the guns in South Carolina is based out of the state, there's interstate commerce. And according to the Constitution, the federal government has the right. But if it's all done within the state, we shouldn't have to obey the laws. Now, I have questions about that. So here we have it. I buy a firearm from a Palmetto State Armory, manufactured here in South Carolina, sold here in South Carolina. I'm going to use it in South Carolina. So combine those three together, I could, if those all passed, walk down Main Street, Greenville, with an AK-7 over my shoulder, a 1911 on my hip, go shopping at Mass General Store, go to Devereaux's, stop in, Sonny's Pub. I could do all that if these laws were all become law. Now, I know some of you out there saying, so what's the big deal? Some of you are like, that's perfect. That's what it should be. Because you're responsible gun owners. You would never walk around with an AK-47 or a shotgun. And a lot of responsible gun owners don't want them open, but you might. The problem is, we're not talking about you. We're talking about people who would be irresponsible. Those people who end up shooting their foot off or injuring their child because they have accidental shootings because they're negligent. We're talking about people who pursue and follow and accost a person not breaking any laws that results in a scuffle, a fight, that ends with the person that is a CWP holder shooting to death that person that they followed and accosted. There's a lot of not responsible gun owners. I don't want that scenario for Greenville, for the state of South Carolina. I urge you to look at the issues, to look at each of those three bills I talked about. I'll try to put up on our website the exact bill number so you can look at them. Firearms shouldn't be in a bar. Open carry, I don't have a major problem with open carry. I wouldn't do it. I'm going to keep mine concealed because I understand that the presence of a firearm can escalate a problem, and a responsible gun owner is trying to de-escalate situations and to avoid problems. And then I don't like the idea of trying to get around the federal government. None of these laws have passed in Washington. We have the opportunity to do something about them. Let's focus on that. Let's stop, for example, the assault weapons ban that's in Washington right now. Now, if you go to pdoutfitter.com, there's a slideshow. It says Second Amendment on the front. If you click on that, you'll go to a letter that we've written that would express your concern about the weapons ban. And you also find a place to find out who your senator and representative is. Or if you went to pdoutfitter.com or pdoutfitter, Personal Defense Outfitter on Facebook, you'd find that information as well. And maybe you disagree with me. Maybe you think the assault weapon ban should be there. But I urge you to look at all of these specific things in an honest and rational point of view. And my friends who are strong Second Amendment people, I'm Second Amendment too. But none of our rights are absolute. And all of our rights come with responsibility. All right, you can listen to us on canigetawordin.com. Find our podcast there. You can go to iTunes at Another Voice with Jason and Eric and find it there. If you're on Facebook, you can follow us there. Facebook is Another Voice with Jason and Eric. Hope you have a great week, and we'll talk to you next time.